Peace was good. I got a new video. I'm gonna show you guys my CD collection. It's been suggested by my dude Mayo Ninja, a subscriber of mine here on YouTube, to show my CD collection. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, play you guys some music in the background. Yeah. All right. First I'm gonna show you is Ice-T's Home Invasion album. This was released in 1993. This is actually one of my favorite albums from Ice-T. I think this and OG, the original Gangsta, and probably Freedom of Speech is actually like my favorite albums from his discography. You know, this album was actually released back in '93. It was actually supposed to be released back in I think '92, but you know, because of the whole LA riots, you know, he had to postpone it. On top of that, the whole cop killer controversy and shit like that, so you know, he had to put hold on to the release. And you know, around this time, his Ice-T's popularity was kind of like turning downhill. He wasn't as popping like he used to be, and I guess people were kind of tired of his music. I guess like people felt like he was kind of played out or whatever. But overall, I feel like this was a good album. You know, this was actually like the last time he, like, you know, Ice-T was really doing his more political stuff, you know, things like that. Because a lot of people think of him as this gangster rapper, but which he is, but you know, he was also a conscious rapper as well. But I guess people don't see it that way. All right. Next album, Ice Cube's Death Certificate album. Very dope album, classic. I definitely recommend you guys checking this album out. Like I said before, his first 4 albums are my favorite out of his whole discography. And I would say Bow Down with Westside Connection. Definitely check that album out. Next album, We Are the Streets, LOX. Released in 2000. Very dope album. Definitely their best album. I like Money, Power, and Respect, which is good, which I do have, but this album definitely speaks volumes and shit for me. You know what I mean? I mean, songs like Wild Out and Blood Pressure, Recognize, all that shit. I mean, you can never go wrong with that. Next album, 3-6 Mafia, Mystic Styles, released in 1995. This is their debut album. This is the OG copy. This is not the 2001 re-release, the reissued version. This is the OG copy. This is when they were really into like horrorcore and shit like that. This is some of the darkest shit is on this album. You know what I mean? This is the 3-6 Mafia I like. You know, like this. You know, the dark beats, the dark lyrics, and all that shit. You know what I mean? I definitely recommend checking this album out. If you're into horrorcore, I definitely recommend checking this album out. Dope ass beats too. Then we got Bumpy Knuckles, aka Freddie Foxxx, his Konexion album that was released in 2003. Overall, I feel like this album could have been a little bit better. The beats were kind of like nah, you know what I mean? I thought it could have been a little bit better, but overall, if you're a fan of Bumpy Knuckles, I definitely would pick this album out. Then we got N.W.A.'s second album, Niggas for Life, released in 1991. My opinion, this shit is way better than Straight Outta Compton. I like Straight Outta Compton, don't get me wrong, but this album to me is a lot more darker, it's a lot more grittier. You know what I mean? The production is a lot better in my opinion, but you know, that's just my opinion. That's no shots to anybody that likes Straight Outta Compton better, but to me, I think they stepped their game up on this album. And we got Esham's Tongues album, released in 2001. Could have been a little bit better in my opinion. I'm a fan of Esham, but I'm a fan of his 90s shit, you know what I mean? I'm talking about like Kill the Fetus, Booming Words from Hell, which I'm trying to get my hands on, but that shit's hard to come by. In fact, a lot of his early shit is very hard to come by. They're out of print, so the best way to get them is either on Amazon or just get them on MP3. But me, I'm all about physicals, but this time I thought it could have been a little bit better. Then we got Bone Thugs' first EP, Creepin on the Come Up, released in 1994. Very dope album. You know, this album is known for, or the EP is known for you know, songs like Thuggish Rugged's Bone, For the Love of Money and shit like that. Very dope album. I recommend this album if you're into like Midwest hip hop, West Coast hip hop, you know, For fans of Eazy-E, you know, you definitely enjoy this album. Then we got Masta Ace Incorporated, or Masta Ace himself, his second album, Slaughtahouse, released in 1993. Definitely one of my favorite albums from him. Sitting on Chrome and this album to me are his best albums. Very dope. It's weird because this album has kind of like a West Coast influence, but East Coast too in a sense, but it's more East Coast if anything. Same thing for Sitting on Chrome, but this is definitely a dope album. I definitely recommend checking this album out. Then we got Bloods and Crips Bangin On Wax is the first one. I'm trying to get the second one. I need to get the second one. Very dope album. Dope concept, you know what I mean? These are actual members of Bloods and Crips. Definitely West Coast as hell. You can see doing like a truce and shit like that. You know, pretty dope. I need to get part 2, volume 2, and I need to get the Nationwide Rip Riders, which is the Crip album. I have the Damu Riders, which you can see right there. This is right there. But definitely need to get that. But if you're a fan of West Coast hip hop, definitely check this album out. Released in 1993. Alright. Then we got Showbiz and A.G. G's second album, Goodfellaz, released in 1995. In my opinion, their best album is actually my favorite album from them. This album is actually highly sought after. This goes for a pretty penny. Luckily, I got this for Christmas back in 2002. Really love this album. I play this album. It's one of those albums that I could play without skipping a track. That's how ill it is. Very dope album. Definitely some shit you play at night. Like, you know, you just riding in your car by yourself. You're doing that midnight driving. This is the album to put on. Very dope. Definitely dope. And we got Man Maestro, released in 1996. Very dope album. A lot of people don't really know about this album. They do, but I don't really see people talk about this album as much. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people know more of Many Moods of Moses and that which was a good album, but this is actually my favorite album from Beanie Man. This was released in 96. Definitely very slept on. Definitely, if you play this, if you have a system in your car, that shit bumps, yo. Very dope album. Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire, released in 1996. Very dope album. To me, this is their best album. I believe this is the second album, if I'm not mistaken. This is the only album I have from them. Definitely need to get more. I wish they made more music, but hey, it is what it is. Definitely a dope album. Definitely recommend it. You could see like the Starr, like kind of like the, you know, the Vietnam Chechen Che Guevara influence. You know, you could see stuff like that. Very dope album. This is the empty case. Esham's Vol.1, Judgement Day Vol.1, released in 1992. It's a dope album. One of its earlier albums. I believe this was released right after I want to say the Dead Homies EP, which is highly sought after. I don't have volume 2. I thought I did, but I don't. But this goes out for a pretty penny. This is actually out of print, so good luck finding this shit. To me, Esham back in the 90s, that's when he was in his prime. In my opinion, the beats were better and stuff like that. They got Top Quality, Magnum Opus. This was released in 1994. 94? Yeah, 94. For those who don't know who he is, he's an MC from White Plains, New York. You know, he was affiliated with you know, Hit Squad. You know, really, he was really under PMD and stuff like that. This is a very dope album. Very underrated in my opinion. You know, you got songs like Magnum Opus, which was the you know, the single "I Can't Hear You" and stuff like that. Very dope album. If you're a fan of, you know, EPMD, PMD, like the early PMD stuff, you know, from like the early 90s, I'm talking about like maybe like a little bit of like, you know, Shady Business like PMD and a little bit of Business Never Personal. I would definitely recommend checking this album out. Like that soundscape, if you guys are familiar with those albums, definitely recommend checking that album out. Alright. We got this album, Master Ace, Sitting on Chrome. released in 1995. Again, another this definitely had like a West Coast vibe to it, but East Coast at the same time. Around this time, you know, Masta Ace gotten a lot of criticism saying, oh, he sold out and stuff like that because of, I mean, you can see like the West Coast influence with the cars and shit like that. But you know, he was just embracing the car. You know, he's embracing, you know, Cali's car you know, like the car culture out there, like they do and stuff like that. He's just bringing it back to the East Coast and stuff like that. But I guess people at the time didn't really understood that. So, but this is a very good album, very slept on. I think Masta Ace as a whole, he's a slept on MC. As you can see, Lord Digger right here. I think that's Paula Perry, and I believe that's LaShare if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but definitely check this album out. Very, very good album. Alright, we got this album, Dr. Octagonacologist, excuse me. Cool Q's Alter Ego, very dope album. It's a classic album in my opinion. Yeah, man. You can never go wrong with Cool Keith. You know what I mean? Songs like 3000, Earth People, which I believe was a single, Blue Flowers. What else? Yeah, Blue Flowers was, I believe it was a single as well. I definitely recommend checking this album out if you're into like that whole dark, you know, sci-fi feel of a sci-fi vibe of beats and shit like that. I definitely recommend checking that album out. All right. Then we got excuse me, I got mad albums. Then we got Tribe Called Quest's second album, The Low End Theory, released in 1991. Classic album. Everybody knows about that album. You know, a lot of people prefer this album over Midnight Marauders and vice versa. Me personally, I like both Midnight Marauders and this album, Low End Theory. This album be a little bit more darker and stuff like that. But this album, those two albums definitely have some significance in my life because I remember hearing those albums back in the early 90s when I was like 5 years old and shit like that. Like when I was a young kid, you know what I mean? Just hearing people playing those, you know, songs from the album, those albums and stuff like that. So, and the radio playing them out and shit like that. So, definitely have some significance in my life. All right. Shit. Whatever. Then we got Common's first album, Can I Borrow a Dollar, released in 1992. This is when he was known as Common Sense. Very underrated album if you ask me, because a lot of people think, you know, Resurrection was actually his first album. It's not. This is actually his first album. This album is known for singles like, you know, Sold by the Pound, Charms Alarm, Penny for Your Thoughts, you know, shit like that. Take It Easy, you know, Breaker 19. Very slept on album in my opinion. I guess because, you know, people wasn't used to Common. What really made him stood out was his high pitched voice. You know what I mean? Like he had like a high pitched voice when he said certain words, like, you know, stuff like that. But I guess a lot of people wasn't really ready for that. But definitely a dope album. Check it out if you can find it. Alright. Then you got Naughty by Nature's first album, released in 1991. This is this is their first album, self-titled. I have the OG copy. This is the copy that does not have Uptown Anthem, which pissed me off because I found out like later on the re-release version, the reissued, I should say rather, actually has Uptown Anthem. So I was a little tight off of that, but overall definitely a dope album. Their first three albums are my favorite albums from them, especially Poverty Paradise, which was a very good album, very slept on. I guess because people felt like they were kind of like commercialized, but they had that pop feel anyways when they first came out, but still had that street vibe to it. You know, that's what made Naughty by Nature unique. All right. Then we have Old Dirty Bastard's first album, Return to His Dirt 6 Chambers, released in 1995. Very dope album. A must have for every hip hop head. Or if you're even not a fan of hip hop, you should just have it anyways. Very dope album. It definitely, you could tell like it was made between around the 36 Chambers era, because I believe it was recorded around those sessions and stuff like that. And you could tell because some of the beats definitely have that vibe. You know what I mean? Return to the 36 Chambers, released in '95, definitely dope. Known for songs like Shimmy Ya, songs like Brooklyn Zoo, shit like that. Shout out to True Master, Hold Your Head Up. Alright. Then we got Brotherland Chung, EBK4, released in 2000. All my Strange Music fans, you guys should know about Brotherland Chung. This is way before he joined Strange Music. This is when he was, under like black market. I believe this was like the last album that he was on the black market. Because actually, I read up somewhere in about this album that Brotherland Chung didn't want this album out, but said Singleton, the CEO of Black Market Records, I guess wanted to make money off of Brotherland Chung, so he just put it out just to put it out. So, and stuff like that, some greasy shit like that, But definitely a dope album. Definitely not his best album. Me, I prefer his first couple albums like 24 Deep, Season of the Sickness, albums like Loaded, which I'm trying to get my hands on. Loaded. Could have bought it years ago, but didn't pick it up, and that shit's out of print. But I know I could go on Amazon and get this shit. Alright. And we got Coogee Rap's first solo album without DJ Polo, 456, released in '95. A classic album, a must-have in your collection. You got songs like Blowing Up in the World, It's a Shame, Fast Life with Nas, Take Him to War. Funny story about Taking to War. That was actually supposed to be a video, but MF Grimm, who was in the song, got shot around that time, so they couldn't make the video, and then so they put out Fast Life. So that would have been fucking dope. Very dope album. Definitely one of my favorite albums from him. I definitely recommend checking that album out. Alright. Then we got Big L's second album, Big Picture, released in 1999 or 2000, I should say. It's a good album. It's definitely not as good as Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, but I definitely recommend you guys checking this album out. If you're a fan of Big L, definitely check it out. Dope beats, stuff like that. In fact, in this album, Ron Brown's is featured on this album, not vocal wise, but his production. I think this was actually his big first placement, if I'm not mistaken. But definitely check this album out. For fans of DITC, Big L, check it out. Then we got Group Home's first album, Living Proof, released in 1995. Definitely recommend checking this album out. Some of Primo's illest beats, in my opinion, are on this album. Shout out to Little Dap, Malachi the Nutcracker, the whole Gangstar Foundation, rest in peace Guru, Group Home, East New York based group and stuff like that. Even though Malachi is from the Bronx, but Lil Dap is from East New York, and I believe Primo was living in East New York at the time and stuff like that. But definitely check this album out. Songs like Superstar, Up Against the Wall, Living Proof, the single, mad shit, definitely dope beats on this album, man. Even if you don't like the vocals, I think they have an instrumental version, but I think it's vinyl release only. But just the beats alone is fucking dope, man. Like I said, some of Primo's illest beats. In fact, like I said before, my favorite era of Primo, in my opinion, was from like 92 to like 96. Because, around that time, his beats were like very gritty, you know what I mean? And I miss that side of Primo. I feel like his stuff right now is kind of cleaned up, in my opinion. Now then we got Beanie Sigel, The Truth, released in 2000. When this album came out, I kind of slept on it because at the time when the whole Rockefeller invasion came out, the Rough Riders was running things in the East Coast. I wasn't really feeling. I didn't like anything Rockefeller hadn't put out. You know what I mean? It just was, I guess, anti Rockefeller. You know what I mean? But I definitely recommend you guys checking this album out. Definitely dope album. You got songs like The Truth, produced by a very young Kanye West. What else? The song Anything, you know, shit like that. It's a very good album, very dope street album. It's the type of song you play like, you know, with your boys and shit like that. You know, you driving around your whip and shit that with your boys. It's rider music pretty much. All right, pick this album up. In my opinion, his first 3 albums are his best albums. Anything after that, I didn't really care for. Audiences didn't bother checking them out. Then we got Cormega Hustler / Rapper, released in 2002. This is just a compilation album of unreleased songs, classic songs, collabs he did, and freestyles. Pretty dope. I definitely recommend checking this album out. Good luck finding it because it's actually out of print. But I picked it up, just me being a fan of Cormega. Definitely a must-have in your collection if you're a fan of Cormega. 1 second. Alright. Then we got Illegal, The Untold Truth, released in 1993. You guys should know about Illegal. If you're familiar with Eric Sermon, you guys should be familiar with Illegal. You know, Little Jamal or Jamal, Molly G. The same Jamal that released Last Chance, No Breaks, a classic album in my opinion. Very good album. You know, you got songs like Back in the Day, Head or Gut, We Gets Busy. Definitely a dope album. You know, they were ruthless, man. They were dissing all the kid rap groups at the time. You know, the Youngsters, Another Bad Creation, Crisscross, you know, shit like that. But you know, their career didn't really last long. You know what I mean? But this is definitely a dope album. I definitely recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of like Def Squad, Hit Squad, Eric Sermon, Redman, and stuff like that, I definitely recommend checking this album out. Pick it up if you can find it. It shouldn't be that expensive. You go on Amazon, get it for cheap. You know, it shouldn't be that expensive. Then we got The Murderers. Irv Gotti Presents The Murderers, released in 2000. A very dope album. It's songs like it's known for songs like Vita Vita. We Don't Give a Fuck, that uses the Rocky sample. Very dope. How remix. It definitely has a real dark vibe to it. Definitely recommend you guys checking the album out. Very, very dope album. Even if you don't like Ja Rule, but the beats themselves make up for it. So definitely recommend checking the album out. Then we got Gangstar's third album. Yeah, the third album, Daily Operation, released in 1992. This is my second favorite album from Gangstar. My first favorite is Hard to Earn, then this album, then Moment of Truth, and then the others and stuff like that. But definitely a dope album. You know, songs like Ex Girl to Next Girl, Take It Personal, which was my introduction to Gangstar. Take It Personal, because I remember hearing that song on the radio back in the day and stuff like that. Very dope, very jazzy, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you can never go wrong. You know, songs like I said, Ex Girl to Next Girl, Soliloquy of Chaos, I'm the Man, which is actually Little Daps and J. Rita Damage's first appearance on Wax. You know, Bust Your Shit. I mean, you can never go wrong with this album. Very dope. Definitely check this album out. Excuse me. Then we got Kutmasta Kurt Presents Master's Illusion. Very dope album with Kool Keith and I believe Motion Man, if I'm not mistaken. Kutmasta Kurt on the beats. Dope producer. I recommend you guys checking this album out. If you're a fan of Kool Keith, if you're a fan of Kutmasta Kurt, dope fucking album. I recommend it, man. The beats on here is fucking crazy. Production, phenomenal. Masters of Illusion, I believe, was the single. Scared Straight. I mean, you can never go wrong. Called the National Guard, which is like my favorite song off the album. Check this shit out, dope. And the last time I'm gonna show is Mad Lion, Real Ting, released in 1995. This is actually his second album, because I thought this was his first album, but this is actually his second album. He had an album that came out before that. I believe it was called Real Lover. That was released in '93, but it's a little bit different. If you're familiar with Mad Lion, you guys know for his affiliation with KRS-One, for the song Take It Easy, Own Destiny. That was off the shout out the soundtrack, the New Jersey Drive soundtrack, which that song Own Destiny was on. You know, you guys know him for his raga style and stuff like that. But you know, but his first album called Real Lover, it was like real on the dancehall tip, like the early '90s dancehall tip. So I'm trying to get that. But I do have his other albums like Ghetto Gold Respect, Ghetto Gold and Platinum Respect, and Predator and Prey. I have those three, and including this one. So all I need to do is get Real Lover, and then my Mad Lion collection is complete. And that's it. I'm gonna cut this short. Stay tuned for part 2 because I got mad CDs. Hope you enjoy it. Peace.